I have never been more excited for a video that's so far off my normal content production whatever as I am for this one. Today I'm interviewing Dr. Andrew Cross from NewTek and Vizrt, which is their parent company now, who is the father of the TriCaster and the creator of NDI, the software-based video capture and broadcast technology that I have ranted on and on and on about in videos that allows you to essentially not need a capture card, to stream out previews from your Adobe apps, to stream real-time Unreal Engine demos, and even 16-channel audio for audio mastering suites, all sorts of stuff. It is amazing. This man has done so much for the video community and video production scene that even I don't know all about, and I learned a lot just from this interview alone, and I can really appreciate his passion for making video more accessible. That's literally why I started this channel. Why I started doing OBS tutorials, streaming guides, things like that, was because I saw how complicated and in some ways completely inaccessible video production was my entire life growing up. And I said, hey, I want to help make that easier by explaining it. And that's literally what he's all about. And I can just appreciate that so much. This was a wonderful conversation. And I'll let you get right into it because we got a lot to talk about.
So my name is Andrew Cross, and I'm the head of R&D here at Vizrt Group. And you know, NDI was this crazy idea I had, you know, a few years ago now. So that's kind of what I've done and who I am, I guess. Short version.
So you mentioned NDI being a crazy idea that you had. What actually led to you wanting to create this crazy technology? Was it a spin-off of something else, or was it purely just, I want to avoid having hardware for capturing video?
No, so there's actually quite a long story behind NDI. I mean, first of all, we had been working on IP technology for quite some time. We believe,
right.
You know, we've believed for years that software was the future. And it became very clear to me that what was going to happen was that this idea that in our industry, things like these proprietary HDMI cables, SDI cables, the whole world had gone to IP. And it needed somebody to help do that. And you know, I was actually out running one day, and it just became so obvious to me that we had already worked on bringing a bunch of companies together around our kind of proprietary IP standard. And we needed to take that and give it kind of to the world. And I actually came in and I said to everybody, guys, I think we're going to give this away. And everybody thought I was crazy because, you know, we had kept it as a kind of an advantage. And I remember people saying, but this is going to help all your competitors and stuff. But I think that you know, we are helped more by having video interconnect between people all over the world than we are by anything else. And, you know, that was what drove the creation of it, is I just really saw that this was the direction the industry as a whole needed to go. We needed to, you know, the benefit of computers is that you could do video on them, that you can use this to spread your word. And if you can't have them talking video easily, they aren't reaching their full potential, and we needed to help do that. And so that was what drove, you know, the creation of NDI originally.
Interesting. So you thought it was far more important to kind of be the one who got ahead and actually provided it than to just make a bunch of money off of it from a few select, you know, companies that may have bought it up and kept it kind of hush-hush on the back end.
Well, what we did is, you know, we made production systems and we could connect to a bunch of companies, and only them, and it only benefited us and them. And we just thought, you know, why limit this to us? We should give this to everybody. We should let, you know, OBS use this. We should let vMix use this. We should let, you know, Wirecast use this. And it wouldn't just remain proprietary to our systems. And if we did that, you know, just the bigger, you know, our belief was that the bigger goal was to get more people doing video, more people doing IP video. And I think it did that far better than we could have imagined, of course. It's interesting to look 5 years, you know, going back 5 years now at how this has worked out. But that was the original thing that drove our creation of this.
So you mentioned it's beyond your expectations. So are there any specific applications of it, or like fields that it's being utilized in, that you didn't really expect it to take off in compared to the traditional kind of broadcast or production space?
Yes, but maybe the best illustration of that is that if you'd asked me 5 years ago or 4 years ago who's using it, I probably could have given you an easy answer. I could have easily answered your question.
Right.
And somewhere along the way, it's got used in so many places, in so many incredible ways that I'd not expected, that I've lost track, which kind of is maybe, I don't know who's using it for what hardly anymore. I mean, yesterday I talked to somebody who runs probably one of the biggest theme parks in the world, and they're using it for large projection screens. Who would have thought?
Interesting.
You know, stage presentations. I can tell you some of the screens on Times Square are being driven by it. I mean, you know, something that blows my mind is that on an average week right now, you know, we're seeing well over 1,000 downloads of just the SDK. So this is what software developers use.
Right.
This is not the end user tools. This is just the software developers. And that, you know, obviously just exceeds anything I would have imagined. And so it's somewhere there, it got a life of its own that's, you know, we thought about it in the production world and how it's going to help live production in mid and lower end broadcast. But it's clearly become much more than that. And you know, it's kind of like, you know, we have kids and we watch our kids grow up, and that's kind of what this is. And so it's left home and had a life of its own now. And that's a cool thing. So
it's a good, relative to my life at the moment, analogy. Did you expect, of all things, for it to really take off in kind of the more independent creator space versus, I mean, controlling the screens on Times Square is pretty, you know, hard to fathom at this point. And considering you mentioned the theme park projections, I still have some rack mount gear that you use to send like a CF card over the network to do that kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. But specifically with, you know, people like me sitting in our bedrooms or their mother's basements or whatever using it, did you expect it to even reach that kind of micro level?
First of all, to me, that's not the micro level. And I say that in complete honesty. I think that NewTek as a company, you know, we started as a company out of Tim Jennison's garage, and we've always believed that our mission was we believed that TV shouldn't be confined to the highest end, whatever. We thought that everybody who wanted to make a show would be able to make a show. And so in many ways, NDI is just an outreach of that. That's why we built everything around computers. Right. That's why we focus so much time on IP and internet, is because those are the things that enabled everybody to make videos. So if anything, that was really far more what we wanted to do than help high-end customers. And so I feel like, you know, I see people like yourself and others using it as what our true mission was all along, more than anything else. And that gives me greater satisfaction than Times Square or the other ones that yeah, but it's true, because it allows, you know, Times Square can run no matter the technology, they got to work it out. But you know, when you're enabling people to make shows who couldn't make shows, now you're doing something meaningful. And I prefer to be doing things that are meaningful than things that aren't. So, you know, that is what matters really.
I can certainly appreciate that. So obviously, as you just described, accessibility is kind of the forefront, the goal. I can appreciate that. I got into creating tech education like this because I hated that throughout my educational path, all of the film stuff was all this closed door, hush hush. If you don't know, you don't deserve to know kind of aspect. Yep. And so I love seeing more of this become democratized and accessible. As a company, what do you like? You know, what do you get about me going and downloading the tools and using it for free? Is there an expected upgrade path of if I launch a broadcast career, I go buy a TriCaster, or is it truly just you already have everything else, you know, your own business model going, and you're truly just, you don't care what they do with it after the fact? If they use it and leave it there, then you're fine with that?
You know, the honest answer is, I want you to use it, and I don't expect you to ever pay us anything or buy anything from us. I hope that one day when you know, if you feel like you need something, yeah, you'd consider it. But the more people doing video, the better. You know, if we can rise all boats, and that ends up helping us too. But you know, but honestly, the reason we're doing it is because we want to see computers being used for video. We want to see that. The more of that, the better, whether it's with our systems or not. The more the world accepts that, the better, whether with our systems or not. And you know, look, at the end of the day, you know, we're all going to, you know, want to look back one day and go, how did we make a difference? We want to help. We don't want to be the company that didn't make a difference to the industry, that just focused exactly on what we need. And if you can do both at the same time, that's even better. So, you know, I guess that's a bit the realistic answer. But But we are not secretly trying to trap people into buying our systems. I work openly and directly with every one of our competitors. I probably know most of them by name, and would happily help them debug any problems they're having. I mean, I think that that's just the way to be working. That's the way I would hope they would work with us, and we need to do the same. And that's the right way to run a business anyway.
I certainly appreciate that answer. And it's not just computers anymore that we're streaming from. I know that the new HX capture and camera apps have just launched on iOS as well. Do you foresee a bigger focus being put on mobile devices, or do you just think that it's an extra tool in the tool shed, or do you see it being kind of like a stronger focus moving forward?
I think that, in some ways when we talk computers, we aren't talking computers. Computers in the world
can be anything.
If you're an alien and you came to this planet and you tried to work out what a computer was, you'd think it's a mobile phone and not a desktop.
That's right.
The revolution that is happening is around mobile. And if we don't spread the use of IP video to mobile, we're not really being successful. So that is the long answer, which is, mobile form a huge part of the ecosystem that is sharing media, moving video between wireless digital networks. And for IP video to be successful, it has to be there. If it's, I would argue that is more what video needs to be and where it needs to be going than some of the other uses. And the world's going to change there, and it's changing faster there than anything we would have imagined, and we need to help there too. So that is why. So things like these apps are important because they start to let video flow between those devices freely.
Right.
That is valuable. That more than 50% of game streaming done on the web is now being done off mobile devices. That is a staggering number. We don't think about that. But, that means there's more people doing game streaming of, Angry Birds than Fortnite.
Right.
That should put into perspective how important mobile ultimately is going to be.
That's a good way of putting it. Can you give us any sneak peek as to when it's returning to Android, since it's only iOS at the moment?
So the answer, the genuine answer there is if I had more than 24 hours in the day, this would be done. And
my answer for a lot of things.
We would love to do it. And if we happen to have known iOS, more, so we were quick at getting there. We want it to be an Android. I can tell you that our ultimate goal is, I think that the real answer to that question is it's not about Android, it's not about iOS. What you want is you want to be able to move media between all the platforms. Right. And that needs to be the broader solution of what we're trying to do. And those platforms aren't just iOS and Android, they're just web browsers, they are computers. And that is what we're focusing as much or more effort on, is how to do that. So if you want to say, okay, so if you look in the mirror, what is the real revolution here that's going to happen? It's not going to be that we make an Android app. It's going to be that we find ways to move it anywhere, easily, anyhow. And that's what we're trying to do. And Android is just maybe a small part of that.
Right. Opens some doors for some ideas I have. On the non-free side, since there's so much focus recently, I know the apps have been made free anyway. Do you anticipate developing any B2C products instead of just B2B stuff that are more on the accessible end? For example, Blackmagic just recently released the ATEM Mini and ATEM Mini Pro, which takes their super inaccessible line and makes it something I can go out and buy right now. Do you foresee any sort of more accessible, just like straight NDI capture solutions that are maybe a downgrade from the Spark, but still a dedicated product versus purely computer, or are you purely just sticking with software as the main goal at the moment?
So I genuinely don't know. I'm not trying to avoid the answer. I genuinely don't know. I mean, I think it's getting into and being successful in the consumer space is difficult, and that is not where our natural home is. That doesn't mean that maybe we shouldn't try, and we're very open to that. I think that we work very much and very actively with a lot of very key partners in that space. And I think that we can have a big impact on it there. But some of this comes back to your original question, which is our goal justified? Is this a secret money-making trick? And I think I've kind of given you the real honest answer, which is no, it's not.
Right.
Somewhat, are we interested in that? Yes, probably. Is our strategy, are we going to become the consumer, and are you, consumer-driven company that's going to start finding a way to charge you for your OBS use of it? That's absolutely not our plan.
Right.
We see that there are companies that are going to do that better than us, and we should let them do that better than us. And if they use NDI for that, that's actually great for everybody. So I don't know is the answer, but it's not a simple yes. Yes, we're going to go and do that and find ways to monetize this in that way.
Right. That makes sense. So changing gears a little bit, I know that, as we mentioned, there's a ridiculous amount of usage for NDI going at the moment. Bigger numbers than I expected, to be honest, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But there's still some out there who cling to their graybeard SDI and HDMI, workflows. What do you think is necessary to kind of get, not necessarily anybody specific, but some who may see, okay, I'm going to look first at a spaghetti monster of cable before my solution, before a software solution. What do you think that next, convincing or eye-opening moment needs to be? Or do you think that's even important? Do you think it'll just prove itself over time and they'll have to get with the times, or be behind?
So that is a good question that probably has a complicated answer, because first of all, I don't know, so you're using headphones right now,
right,
and you are connected to the computer by probably a 1/4-inch jack, right?
Yep.
There you go. So you could use wireless. You could be using Bluetooth, and you chose not to.
Right, and there's reasons for that, yeah.
Yeah, well, but you see, that's the thing, and with different things make sense for different uses. And I don't think, this isn't religion. I think that, the SDI and HDMI have a place. And I should not be the person that says, no, it should go away.
Right.
I think that, and I think NDI has a place. And I think that they are somewhat different. And I think if I, as the guy who probably, has done more to create NDI than many, wanted to hook a camera just up to a monitor, I would use SDI myself, because it just works.
Right.
But I know that once I'm within my building, the magic of me putting it onto the network and seeing everything else is genuinely magical in a way that I hadn't expected. And it's the right tool for that use. So I think it's a complicated answer, but in terms of your question of how do you convince people, I do think that once you use it, it certainly is more than you think it is.
Right.
And I think that, and I remember this very clearly, because we designed its use in our products, and I had this idea about how it would work. And I was actually up at NewTek working late one evening. My kids were annoying me while I wasn't home. And the first time we actually saw NDI running and suddenly seeing all these sources on the network, I just actually remember it very much, because I had designed this. I mean, a lot of this was things that I'd suggested that we work on. And yet when I saw it running and I had a computer that was not connected, had no SDI connections on it, it suddenly felt very different from what I expected. And I actually remember I actually leant back on my chair, and I took a photo of our system running this. And I sent it to the owner of the company and I said, this is the future. And he texted me and said, what the heck is this? But somehow in using it, it felt so different from just hooking everything up with the SDI connections. And I do think that, until people sit down and use it and put it on the network and see that, the auto discovery has something magical about it, and suddenly you hook up another source and suddenly can use another source, and the flexibility that gives you, you don't get that until you actually do it. And so I would say that, for a lot of the people using SDI, that they need to try it, because I think that they will understand that there is something just magical about working that way. And it doesn't replace SDI, but it certainly is different and allows for different things to be done and to think about productions in very different ways.
That's a good way of putting it. And actually, it's funny that you described it in that way, because this is going to sound really silly, but the first way that I got really excited about it when I was messing with it was a similar feeling to when I first connected to a school network for playing online computer games, and going from traditionally, I didn't have a whole lot of computer games until a certain point, going from expecting, a split screen kind of console setup to just being there's 20 other people in this building playing the same game that I can just hop on with them. and I don't need to be sitting on the couch next to them or anything like that. That same kind of, suddenly the world is opening up a little bit wider for where I can put my time is a lot of fun.
But I think you're exactly right. And so I think that, back to your original question, which was how does this replace SDI? You see, that was never what SDI was meant to solve. There's, SDI is like gamers where you could connect in the very old days, I'm showing my age here, two computers together via serial cable and game over serial cable. And, arguably that's easier to use than doing online gaming. But online gaming opens up a whole new way of, new set of things. And that's what I think, really the comparison between NDI and SDI is, quite frankly.
That's fair. I guess to wrap things up here, it could be easier, it could be a really difficult one for you. In the overall video broadcast world, what tech or what, developing thing is most exciting you right now? Like, what are you looking forward to either playing with or seeing get like further development going? Be it NDI related or something just broader.
Okay, so this is a very interesting question, and I think a lot of people would say, well, it's got to be 4K or 8K or VR or AR or something like that. And I think that those are natural steps in the same way that cars getting better and, the stereo's getting better and things like that get gradually better, but they don't change your life. And that's where we are with a lot of those technologies. So I think that the things that will change the video world are going to be, number one is going to be accessibility. I think that cameras getting better and cheaper. I think that, the cell phones means that you have a great camera anywhere you go. That is game changing. Moving video between these is then obviously is a challenge, which now you know why we're thinking about that, because we should be connecting devices anywhere to anywhere. And I think that this enables things that people aren't thinking about. Right. And then, so I think that the accessibility is what will change video. And TV stations, so I keep thinking about this because, a big part of our business is in the broadcast video world. And right now they are producing shows in totally different ways. And I keep thinking, okay, so what happens when they go back into their TV studio and get back to work? And if they're anything like me, they're going to go and get the coffee in the morning, go back into their studio probably, sit down, breathe a sigh of relief and go, I'm glad I'm not in my garage anymore. Right. And we'll go back to producing largely how they did before, except some things will have changed. And one of the things that will have changed is I think they will think, well, gosh, we did an interview much like what we're doing. We were not in the same room. We could do this. This was enabled by IP technology. Now we've got to be able to bring in callers. That's something that's going to stick with TV, the fact that they are working remotely, and that is about accessibility. So I think accessibility is what's going to change video. I think beyond that, the vast majority, everything we're doing, everything you're doing, everything TV stations doing is driven by ads. And I think that, this is becoming that world is going to change. And that world is going to change in that, this idea that in the middle of a show you do a hard cut to an ad is got to be history. I mean, first of all, technology allows you to skip that, but realistically, that's not what consumers want. They don't want that. That's why they're trying to skip it. But but it is what funds the vast majority of all production. In fact, the vast majority of all media, and so. That's going to be an area that changes, and I think that that's going to be the revolution of VR and AR. The real revolution of those is going to be that they allow ads and the way we monetize media to become far more part of the show, so that it is what consumers want and what the media producers want. And so I actually think that if I look 20 years out, that's going to be one of the big revolutions, and people are going to look back at TV as it is today and go, what the heck, where did my show stop? Well, why did it stop and show me something else? And that will be probably the next big change, I think. So I think accessibility, and then I think that the way this all gets funded has to change, or it won't work. But it's got to work. So I think that those are going to be the big things, and I think, it's funny, people keep talking about how VR and AR take off. It's going to be advertising is the answer, and not computer games or the other things they're looking at, or social media or whatever. It's going to be in the media space. That's going to be the big use of it. It's already the biggest use of it. I mean, that's the thing. If I got asked the other day where VR and AR was really getting used, and the answer is every sports game you watch is basically, all the analysis, everything now is already VR and AR. That's the biggest use of it already today, and that's going to grow, and it's going to cover more areas. So I think those are the things that I see as the big changing areas.
Interesting. That is a lot to think on. Brief tangential example, you mentioned basically the experiences built with advertising in VR and AR, and currently we are experiencing with the Fortnite game, they're doing in-game like concerts at the moment for specific musicians. Absolutely. And everyone logs in and watches this concert. And I'm already starting to feel like an old guy because to me that's just kind of like, huh? But translate that into VR and AR and suddenly it makes a lot more sense. And they've been trying to do that with wrestling recently and things like that since the stands are empty. And so I'm excited to see how that evolves, assuming it doesn't turn into some TV show parody where like every time you look around, it's like, ding, you want this? Do you want this? Because
but you know, democracy kind of wins out in that when they start doing shows that are annoying to watch, people don't watch them.
Right.
And so there is this natural balance between, you know, taking it too far because people just won't watch it then.
Right.
And so, you know, I think that is the hope I have, you know, that's the faith I have that TV won't become totally unwatchable because then, you know, then people will not watch it and they will go and watch something somewhere else. And given that there are far more options for that today, I think this generally means that it is a good time for TV because it does mean that TV gets driven far more around what is worth watching than just commercial needs or that you're the one with the FCC license. You know, which is why TV is changing for the better, probably.
Right. Awesome. Well, solid answer. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me today. This has been wonderful. I have a lot to dig into still regarding NDI, and I still have a lot of videos coming up, hint, hint, about some of the technology that we can do with it, because it unlocks many doors beyond what one guy sitting in an office making videos can even do. And I'm excited to dig into more of that. Are there any upcoming announcements or any updates recently you want to tease, or it's all, I know 4.5 just dropped. I need to cover that soon. That's got a lot of cool features in it.
You know, 5.0 is going to be the big one for us. I mean, I've said, you know, our goal is to connect anyone, anywhere, and that's what we're looking to do because that's the end game here. It shouldn't be, you know, I mean, if we can connect the whole world to video, that's what'll make a difference, and that's what we're trying to do.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that because I have some ideas in my head about how that might happen. So I'm very excited to see how that.
You shoot me an email. I'd love to hear them.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much. Everybody can go check out links to various NDI related things in the video description. And thanks so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week. There's only a couple days left, but yeah.
I know. Well, thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Likewise. This was a lot of fun. I have not done very many interviews, and this by far has been my favorite that I've ever done. Like, it's gone the smoothest. I had the best time out of all of them talking about it. Thank you so much to the NewTek, Vizrt, and NDI team for making this happen. Super thanks to Dr. Andrew Krause for coming on and chatting about this. The dude is a legend, and I hope to chat with him more, and I hope to cover more NDI topics on the channel moving forward. I put up my video essay about it. If you want to learn what NDI is, what it's all about, I'll have that linked in the video description. I have a video coming on the new 4.5 update that just released with some cool stuff coming soon. A cover of the Android or iOS apps, rather, still no Android, as well as whenever that 5.0 update comes out. I am super stoked to check that out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Hope you enjoyed this. I truly do. I hope you learned a thing or two as well. Hit the like button, subscribe for more tech education and stream guides. I'm EposVox, your stream professor. I'll see you later.